Okay, so now that we've kind of covered a little bit about the Material and Site Improvement Manager, what I would like to do is focus a little bit on now applying some of those to a surface that we have. So just a little background on this. This surface was generated using some existing ground contours, which you can see here, blue and the green lines. And then the line work for the let me hit the F11 key for properties. So I have a layer here on which I have the center lines, some road center lines, which were draped over the surface to give them elevation. I have some lip lines at the edge of the pavement. We have some curb flow line, and then we have the top back of curb. Okay, we do not have the face of curb, but we do have the top back. So what we're going to do is we now want to use that 4 and 6 road site improvement and add those in these areas where we want to add that. And we also want to add a 4-inch sidewalk in this area right here where we have this concrete sidewalk, these concrete sidewalk layers, where you can see where these sidewalks are. So we're going to go through the process of doing that here quickly. So in the takeoff menu, remember a lot of this has to do with how things are categorized. Now in order for me to have lines that will let me select something and use it to assign a site improvement, they have to be in certain places. So now most of this is all my design and in this design grouping. So like these center lines, I'm not concerned with using them as something I can associate with the site improvement. None of those are potential boundary lines that are closed polygons. However, my lip, my top, and my sidewalks are, and my curb flow lines. So if these are something I consider may have them, I'm going to want to select them, come down here, and say they contain potential boundary lines, and now they will be included in something that I can use to look at and see if that's something that I would like to use as something to assign a site improvement to. Okay, so now I can close out of this command. I'm going to again come to the takeoff, go to identify site regions. And you'll notice that here's my takeoff categories, of which if it sees a closed polygon, I can assign a material to as a site improvement. So like my original, if I assign site improvements, those are more than likely going to be demolition, such as a building pad or something that we're going to take out or remove from the site before we start work. Now, the ones that I'm dealing with are on my design layer. And it shows I've got 46 potential boundary lines. So here's all my different boundaries where I can put in some kind of, line work, and it's going to give me that as a boundary. It's going to have that bounded and use it to put that site improvement there. Now I'm going to choose the layer I want this on. Now choosing this, basically going to show the color of that top material from that site improvement, or whatever color I have assigned in my material and site improvement library. So I'm going to come down and make sure that I have my site validate areas layer turned on. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and I'm going to be identifying regions. If for some reason I do something I want to remove, I can say remove, click in the area, and it's going to get rid of that site improvement. So I'm going to come down here and choose from my list of site improvements. And I do have one called pavement, and it's called road 4 and 6. And I know, and if I wonder what that is, I can click here and it's going to show me. It's going to bring up my material and site improvement library, my manager. And I can use that and see and take a look and see if it's what I want. So for my road 4 and 6, I can see that I've got 4 inches of asphalt, which is my type 1 asphalted concrete. I've got 3/4 inch base, which is going to be a fill material for my 6-inch base. So I know that that's what I want, and I'm going to say, okay, that's what I want. So these are going to be areas of pavement. So I may call them pavement. Now, whenever I assign these, what's going to happen is that the first one I assign is going to have a number, and then all those afterwards are going to, you're just going to see a number occur, come up for each different place where I assign it. So I pick my location. Now I notice that it fills it in this gray color because that's my top material. So I know that I've got that subgrade and that site improvement assigned to this area. Now the next one, I'm going to come up, click in my next road group up here, click inside this one, and click inside this one. And now I know that I've got my site improvements for all my roads put in there. Okay. Now the other one that I was wanting to show and demonstrate quickly is these areas here where I have these sidewalks. Okay. So you notice now that I'm on pavement 4 because I did 4 pavement areas. Now I'll come over here and I will change this and say, okay, I want to do this pavement sidewalk. Now I want to check it because it says I've got 4 inches of concrete and 4 inches of 3/4 aggregate. I want to remove this 3/4 aggregate because I do not want to have that there. So now if I come back to that, it says I've got just 4 inches of concrete. And this is going to be sidewalk. And the reason you name these is because this shows up in your reports for your takeoff reporting. Again, I'm going to go and choose the area, and I'm going to pick an area and just start. It's going to create that subgrade adjustment for me. Now you have to remember that when you are using the takeoff portion of Business Center, your surfaces are not going to automatically update. Those surfaces have to be created using the build surface command. So I'm going to work my way around, get all my sidewalks there. So I have all these sidewalks done. So I can close out of this command because those are the only ones I'm worried about at this time, just to show the process of doing this. And so here's my surface, but you notice it still doesn't have that 10-inch adjustment right here, and it doesn't have the 4-inch subgrade adjustment for my concrete for my sidewalk. But as I said, if I come to my takeoff, say build surfaces, down here I'm going to see it's building different surfaces, it's creating those subgrades, and now I can see it built a different surface that does have those subgrades included. So if I come over here and look, I have a finished design and finished design with subgrades adjusted. So here is my finished design with subgrades adjusted, and it is going to show where I do have that 10-inch for my road and the 4 inches for my sidewalk. Another way for me to view this is going to be to use my surface slicer view, which I can come in here, cut a surface slice across this. Now, if I look at what surfaces it's looking at, it shows I'm viewing my finished design with subgrades adjusted, and I can see that from my lip, I've got a 10-inch subgrade adjustment for that road, and then I've got a 4-inch adjustment here for my sidewalk. Okay, so that concludes this video. The next portion of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these 3D lines and offset them to create subgrades to send out for a model to go into a machine. Simply due to the fact that now, let's say for instance that we don't want to actually do the curb and gutter, and someone else is coming in and doing that, but we do want to cut out the material and add that to our subgrade here. So what we'll do is I'll create a subgrade model in the next video and show you one method of doing that with offsetting and using those 3D lines that we've already generated. And then another method would be to build the cross sections, build that in the corridor module, which will be probably a 4th video for this series of videos.